Hello, this is Timothy Bond with Truvine Publishing Company, and you're watching the Right Change Masterclass, where we're talking to Alotha Mayes. Alotha, how are you today?
I am beautiful. Thank you for asking, and thank you for inviting me today. It's an
Yes,
honor.
I'm so excited because I know where you started and all of the fears that you said you had and how you would jump down my throat and tell me I'm pushing you too hard. And now you're pushing me. Now you're sending me like, have you done this? Are you doing this? And I'm like, man, I got to get on my game, right? So I think it's very important for you, for people to see from your perspective because you represent where people think they are and where they can actually be, and that it's not that big of a leap to reach
Mhm,
that status, right? To me,
mhm,
you are a true author. You live the author life, right?
mhm,
So,
mhm.
in the respect that you've written a book, that makes you an author, but about 95% of people who write a book don't do anything after that. And they don't understand it's their responsibility. And what I'm seeing in you that I'm so proud of is how you have taken the bull by the horns and you have owned this road you're on. And so I really love to talk about, this transition, how you got to in the right mindset, and how other people can do the same. Um, so let's first talk about what you felt when you first started, because I think that's important. So people understand the baseline of where you were when you started this journey,
Terrified. That's where I was.
right?
In a word, I was just terrified because writing a memoir is not a it is not for the faint at heart.
Mhm.
Because if you are really honest with yourself and you are really honest about what you are writing and what you're talking about, and you have to, one of the things I learned from you is when you write in a book, you have to tap into all the emotions. Your reader has to feel all the things that you felt during those times. So that meant I had to go back to those spaces and feel the anger and feel the hurt and feel the disappointment. And I didn't want to do that. And so, if you write a memoir, just be prepared to feel all your feelings.
Mhm.
Okay. So that was part of the fear, because I didn't want to do it. And not only did I want and not want to do it, but I didn't want anybody to know
Mhm.
all the things that I had done and what I had to write about. And I
Mhm.
say what I had to write about because this book is an assignment from God. If I had my choice, I would not have written it. In fact, I tried to avoid writing it for a very long time. It got to the point that every prayer I prayed, the answer was write the book.
Mhm.
Like he wouldn't even deal with me on anything else until I wrote the book.
Mhm.
And so I was terrified, but he is faithful because when I started doing what he told me to do, then he started guiding me in the places where I needed to be, which is how I met you.
Mhm.
Because once I wrote what I thought, y'all, when I met Tim and I said, I wrote a book, it was 30 pages. I was like, I'm done. But when I came to you, I really thought I was done. I had done something. I was like, okay, Lord, I'm done. Now what? And I tried to talk to other publishers and whatever, but I could never get that warm and fuzzy. I didn't get the feeling that I was doing what I was supposed to be doing, that I was where I needed to be. It just nothing felt right until I met Tim. Excuse me. And he came highly recommended from another author that I attend church with. And he told me that he's a good dude. He's going to take care of you. This is who you want or whatever. And
Mhm.
so I called him, and then that's kind of where it's all started because Tim if you are thinking about publishing a book, he's the person you need to publish with, because he took what I had and guided me in the direction that I needed to go. Like once I met Tim, I was no longer, I was still afraid, but I was no longer lost. Like
Mhm.
before, I was just lost and afraid. I had this, what I thought was a book, and I was just like, I don't know what to do or where to go or whatever, you know. And but God is, you know, he's so loving and kind. He just gently guided me to Tim and then gave Tim all the things to say, you know. And so I am a if you've ever taken what's called the Clifton Strength Assessment, I am an achiever and an activator. And so what that means is if you give me a task, all I need to know is what time you when you want it, because then I'm gonna go do it. And so it was easy after that, after I met him, because I just did what he told me to do. I just did the things that he told me to do. And it hurt. Oh my God. He's like, I need you to go live on Facebook. Or why? Why can't I just make these little videos in the car
Mhm.
and post them, you know, and edit them and make sure I look cute and all of that. And he was like, no, people need to see your natural person and your genuineness and all of that. Oh,
Mhm.
this is too much.
Mhm.
But I just kept doing it. If you just keep doing what you know you are supposed to be doing, do it afraid, do it ugly, do it tired, do it, just do it.
One of the first things you told me, you called and you said, "You are stressing me out." Right? And I understood. I knew exactly where you were coming from. What I think is important about your story is whatever I told you to do, even though you told me every time you told me, "You stressing me out, I don't want to do this," you did it. How do you help people achieve that mindset to do things even when they're, I think to say scared is an understatement for you. You were terrified. You were physically affected by
Mhm.
these tasks that I was giving you, and yet you did it. How do you help people get to that mindset?
So that is difficult. And the reason I say that is because it's natural for me that going back to that Clifton Strength Assessment,
Hmm.
I'm an activator. If
Hmm.
I say I'm going to do something, I do it.
Hmm.
And I don't have to do anything.
Hmm.
My grandmother used to say all the time, be the labor, big or small, do it well or not at all. So
Okay.
if I'm doing it, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, or at least until I think that it's perfect. And
Hmm.
then the traits of an achiever is a person who does continues to work on it until it's completed.
Hmm.
Like we're the people who don't eat and don't sleep, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you still working on that.
Hmm.
That's me. And so that's just my personality, period.
Okay.
So am I saying that a person has to have those characteristics in order to do it? No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that that's why it was so easy, if you will, for me to push past the pain and push past the fear,
Hmm.
because my mind, and I'm also goal oriented. So in my mind, I had to achieve the goal
Okay.
by the time or whatever. It's just in me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That I guess you do have an advantage as well because you have that military experience. The
That has
military is,
nothing to do with the
you
military.
don't
People say
think
that
so?
all the time. No, I was like that from a kid. In
Okay.
In fact, if you read, when you read my memoir and some
Mhm.
of the things that I was told growing up, that I would never be anything, that I wasn't going to amount to anything, that I practiced being stupid, I think it came from those spaces, because I learned that in order to be loved, because any kind of positive recognition only came after I achieved something or did something for someone.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I learned that in order to get positive responses from people, you had to do things or you
Mhm.
had to accomplish things. You know, I would be told that if I get a good report card, then they would take me places. Or
Mhm.
if I, you know, you get $1 for every A or whatever, you know. And
Mhm.
then a lot of times, to compound that, a lot of times they didn't make good on their promises.
Mm,
And so it was a constant working towards something that most times never came.
mm.
And so I think the military just gave me a place to do that. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the most important aspect of this, though, and especially for the people watching, is that whether that's your personality type or not, the result is the result, right?
Mm-hmm. True. That's
When
true.
you move beyond your fear, there's something greater on the other side. I want you to tell the story about the text message campaign.
So the instructions were that it was something about 200 people,
Right.
250 supporters, people
Yeah.
who would support you.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't even know 250 people.
So let me give that context. Let me
Look it
give
up.
that context. So the context of that is our pre-sale campaign. I told her to target her top 250 supporters. People who would buy her book just because her name was on it. If there were no words on the paper, they would still buy the book just because her name was on the book. That was her assignment. Go from there.
So I told him I didn't know 250 people. Now, never mind that I done been all over the world. I had babies in foreign countries and got married in Denmark, divorced in Mexico. But I don't know 250 people. So um, I did what he said. When we finished the conversation, I was like, okay, Janae, what are you gonna do? And I was like, well, I got to figure out a way to do it because he said do it. That's I don't know nothing else. I had no other options except to do this. So I had to figure out a way to do it. So I just sat down and I said, well, let me print out all my contacts. And when I went in my phone, y'all, I had 700 and something, 50 something contacts in my phone, saved numbers in my phone, right? So I put them all out on a spreadsheet, and then I went through and like deleted duplicates and businesses and stuff like that. And some businesses I actually left in there. I was like, you know what? They always sending me stuff. I'm gonna send them stuff. So I once I did all of that and cleaned it up, I went through and I think I downloaded them back to my phone or something. I can't remember exactly. But then I asked myself, okay, how are you going to get this to all of these people without sending a group text? Because I hate those things. And so I said, I went into my phone, into the app store, and I just put in send an individual text to a large number of people or something like that. And I found an app called, I want to say it was called Reach, and it
Okay.
was like $6. It was like a 3-day trial and then like $7 afterwards or something like that. But you download your message and it just goes through your contacts, and whatever name is in the first name box of the contact, that's what they put on the thing. So
Oh, wow.
hello Tim, I got great news, blah 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 blah. Hello, look,
Mhm.
hello, so and so heating and cooling.
Yeah, right, right.
So whatever was there, that's what they used. And I sat there and for 20 minutes, I because that's all it took was about 20 minutes to go through, because it would stop periodically and ask me if I wanted to keep going or something like that. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's what I did. And I was terrified and I was flinching the entire time because I was like, these people, they're gonna get this text message, they're gonna be like, oh my God, what is she sending us? And why is she sending me this? And I had one or two people come back with some craziness. Like somebody asked me, who are you and how did I get my number? How did you get my number? And I, even after I told her how I got her number and the whole scenario of how we met and everything, she was like, I don't remember that. Okay, well, I got your number. So are you gonna buy the book or not?
Right.
And she wanted to know why I chose the title.
Uh,
And I told her about the title. And at the bottom of my message, you said something like, if you've ever felt unloved or unchosen or something like that, this book is for you. And she was like, well, I never felt any of that, so I'm not buying it. Oh, okay.
Right, right.
You know,
Yeah.
but because I'm a woman of God, and because I believe in spiritual warfare, and because I know that I have an assignment, I know that the enemy is going to try to take me out my game.
Hmm.
And so every time that would happen, I would just like attribute it to that. I'm
Yeah.
like, get back, devil. I ain't trying to hear that, or
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I just kept going.
Yeah.
But what happened, the result just made it all so much better, because for every person that has something negative to say, 5, 6, 7, 10 people had something positive to say.
Hmm.
I
Right.
mean, people started calling and signing up to print their book and all kinds of stuff that I didn't even expect.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't even expect.
I think that's so important because that one person is the person that's the voice in our heads that stop us from doing it. That
Mm-hmm,
one person who who you're afraid of, who's going to have a negative statement, right? We don't do it because of the thought of that one person, but then you had hundreds of people who did support.
mm-hmm,
And like you said, even one person became a new client because they said, and they used these words, and she wasn't being negative. She just was like, I hadn't talked to this person in years,
mm-hmm,
but she had a book as well, right? And so she was like, she wanted to talk to me to see what this process looks like. And not only did she support you, but then she was able to find the conduit and the channel to bring her dream to reality. So you
mm-hmm,
help people, not just helping yourself, but you help other people, to fulfill their dreams by being obedient to the call, right?
mm-hmm,
Stepping out of your comfort zone, being okay with the fact that there are going to be some people who don't like your efforts, period. You're
mm-hmm,
not going to get away from that. You're going
mm-hmm.
to have people, and we call them haters, but I'm not even going to call them haters. Who cares if they're haters? There are going to be people who don't appreciate you trying to achieve goals with their support.
What I
But
like to call them. I
you
like to
said,
call them developers.
okay, okay, yeah.
Because what happened to me in the process was every one of those negative responses
Mhm.
developed something in me to either challenge the response or show me how to do something different,
Yeah,
or if for no other reason, help me to feel different about what I was doing.
yeah, yeah.
Because there were people who I knew were going to support me. I mean, if I would have bet a check that this person would have bought a book
Hmm.
and bought it on the front end and bought multiple copies and all of that.
Hmm.
And she did not. She did not only her, in fact, I consider her part of my top five.
Mm.
Two of my top five did not buy a book in the pre-sale campaign.
Mm.
And when I reached out to them a second time, the response was, "Well, I'm doing this. I'm gonna buy your book," and just kind of blew me off. And then out the blue, like months later, one of them came back and was like, "Girl, I read your book. Where'd you get it?" "Oh, I got it on Amazon."
Mm. Mm.
"Okay." After I sent you the link
Hmm.
twice,
Yeah.
you went to Amazon and didn't
Hmm.
even like talk to me or whatever.
Yeah.
And that hurt. But what it did was it strengthened a resolve in me that I am no longer um, concerned about who's going to buy the book or who's going to receive me or whatever,
Hmm.
because I know now, because of all the positive responses,
Right.
that this is an assignment that has to be completed.
Right.
I mean, I could try not to complete it, but again, I would just be going back and forth wrestling with God. And if you've ever done that, it's exhausting and it's pointless.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know that I have a responsibility to do what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I can't be worried about whether my closest friends or the people who I knew were going to support me or not. I can't concern myself with that.
My heart is bursting right now because this is so powerful. People really need to understand this. Like, we need to understand what people think about our mission and our assignment means nothing. And no one, whether it's your family members or strangers who are just hating and trolling, no one's opinion matters except for God's opinion and the people who you are helping with that mission or that assignment, right? And sometimes we all know this. Some people are very happy with you as long as you're on their level.
Mm-hmm.
The moment you start moving up, I'm not going to support it, or she ain't going to do it. I'll wait to see if she does it right instead of supporting up front. And then you have people like I always say, you don't know who's waiting to support you. People who you thought would never support you, who are gung ho buying multiple copies, you know? And
Yeah.
so you have to be in that mindset when it comes to stepping out and achieving the goals that you have for your book. You have to be in that mindset that I don't know who's going to support me, and I'm okay with those who don't. I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm. But like Michael Jordan said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Right.
And I'm gonna tell y'all, this is gonna trip you out. I've never told you this, but in my contacts were the my supervisors or some of the employees I used to work when I worked at I worked as a receptionist at a nonprofit organization.
Hmm.
Well, I got fired from that job, right? And I sent the information out anyway to them. And those one of the supervisors who was responsible for my termination
Hmm.
bought the book.
Really? So let's talk about let's move on to I want to talk to you about how you break out of stagnancy, right? So there was a moment where the pre-sale was going, the phone was buzzing nonstop. Purchases, 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 right? Then you lose that momentum, and a lot of people get stuck there. They think, well, I guess it's over because nobody's buying anymore. How do you deal with that? How do you get yourself back in the race?
Okay, so at the risk of making this sound like Bible study,
Okay.
when you know that you are doing what God has called you to do, when you get in those spaces,
Hmm.
is when you need to call out to Him even the more. You should always be communicating with Him. But those dark spaces are when you really need the light. And so you call out to Him the more.
Hmm.
And every time I got in a space like that where I felt, something someone was saying, or maybe I just didn't feel like I had fallen off or whatever I was feeling that was not good, he would always send somebody, or I get a book purchase, or I get a invite to do something, or something would happen to remind me that he is still here and that he's right here and he sees me and he knows what I'm doing and that I'm pleasing to him. What I'm doing is pleasing to him. And so it's those times where I would ask him, okay, Lord, well, what should I be doing? Or should I do this or should I do that? And a lot of the times I will tell you, and this is a difficult task for us type A personality people, is a lot of those times he just wanted me to be still. Those stagnant times were places where he just wanted me to rest.
I gotta clap for that. I have to clap for that. I'll jump on that. I'll jump on that when you finish. Continue. Continue.
Yeah, so it was learning how to really, this whole process has been learning how to have a relationship with the person who truly has control over everything,
Mm,
you know? Because we conditioned to worry about stuff and do stuff, and you got to do this, and timelines and calendars and dates and children and husbands and
mm,
stuff. And it's always something happening, going on that we got to have our hand on.
yeah.
But that's an illusion. It
Yeah.
really is, all
Yeah.
of it. If we give it to him, he'll tell us when to stop, when to rest. He'll make things stagnant so you
Mm,
can't do anything.
yeah.
In all of it, he's always reminded me that he is right here and it's going to be all right. And I'm doing exactly what I need to be doing.
So
Even
what you say is so powerful because the way we think, right, affects everything. And so when you have those slow moments, if you start thinking, oh, well, this is it. This is, I guess, don't nobody like the book, or my what I thought was supposed to be happening, this ain't what God really wanted. You have
Mhm,
all those negative thoughts. You create that negative reality. But when you understand that everything, including the still moments, are designed for your good,
mhm,
you keep your mind focused on the mission at hand, you will flow so much easier, right? Opportunities start to pop up when you, because you're always in a mindset of gratitude, no matter what, whether it's slow. Like this month, this is personal for me. This month has been very slow, but also this month I lost my father-in-law.
mhm,
So if I was busy, I couldn't be there for my wife like I need to be,
mhm,
right? I couldn't be there for my mother-in-law. And so it's like it's slow, but also if I look at where I am in my life right now, it needs to be slow.
mhm,
You know what I mean?
mhm,
I
mhm,
can't focus on a bunch of different stuff right now because I gotta be here for my family. Everything that we go through, it's for our good. It's for God's purposes. He's not gonna just put you out there and say, "I don't care what you're going through. Get this done," right? He's gonna let you, he's looking and he's like, "No, you don't need to be busy that month. I'm gonna slow things down." And now I'm starting to get calls like, "Hey, I'm ready to do it next week." Right now, I'm starting to get calls because like this month is what happened, and it's gone. So you have to have that mindset that even in the slow periods, right? God
mhm.
is still setting up for you the next step and you move forward. I love that. I love
Yeah.
that. So, lastly, what I'm really excited about that I see you doing is that you go out and you find opportunities. You're not waiting for opportunities to come to you, right? The average author sits back and waits for people to come to them to buy the book. They
Mhm,
think that by putting the book on Amazon and putting it on the internet, that somehow a global Amber Alert is going to go out and tell everybody in the world, Alotha just put her book out, go get it, right? No, you got to get out there and tell people. And so I really want you to go over like, what's your process? What are you doing? Because you're finding so many events.
So, you said to me one time that social media is free advertising.
Hmm.
Use it. And I said, okay. And so I'm in probably about six different author communities or author groups on Facebook.
Hmm.
And then I'm also in at least two, I think some more, but at least two vendor um groups, vendors wanted Middle Tennessee, something like that. So by being in these groups, I see where all the pop-ups are, where the different opportunities are. And so when they ask for vendors, I just, go and do the research and find out what they require, what the space is looking like, and if it's something that's going to benefit me, then I will sign up to be a vendor. And in most cases, I get selected because my product is unique to the thing, the pop up.
Yeah.
Because everybody's selling body scrub, everybody's selling shea butter, everybody's selling t-shirts, everybody's selling, but almost never is there an author at these different excuse me, like little flea markets or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are looking for events that are book type events.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it. That makes sense because I'm a part of them. I'm in going to be in one next week. But you got all of these authors and books,
Mm-hmm.
and if your book and your table ain't in the right spot, by the time they get to you, they probably be done about all the books they can carry,
Right.
and you just run that risk in that environment of same product. And so I try to keep those kind of things in my mind when I'm looking for stuff. I also look at the cost of the event, and then I try to determine, like, if I paid this much, how many books do I need to sell at the event or whatever, or what's the likelihood or whatever. When I'm thinking about purchasing books, because most of the time I'm not thinking about purchasing books, because my primary focus is getting my message out.
Mm-hmm.
And not everybody's gonna read my book because people aren't readers.
Right.
And so I get those people, I have to tell them. I gotta tell them. And
Mm-hmm.
so I try to make like yesterday I did an event, and what's today? Monday? No, Saturday I did an event, and I made like two speaking engagement connections.
Wow.
Where the woman stood there and called somebody else and said, "We need to get this lady on such and such and such and such."
Yeah.
That's what I want. I really want to get the message out, and I know that some people I'm just gonna have to tell them the message because they're not gonna read the book, and that's okay. And so that's kind of what I do. Then I try to build relationships too. That's another thing about choosing Truvine over another publisher. And I guess I'm biased because I've never worked with any other publishers. I did talk to some, and I just didn't get a warm and fuzzy. But with Truvine, from the very first conversation Tim and I had, I have always felt like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was just reinforced when people that I started sharing my book with started connecting with him and having the same positive experience. And then it was reinforced when he fosters a community within his publishing company. Like, he doesn't just publish authors and send them on. He keeps them close to him and he connects them with each other. And so now I have a sister author in Truvine that her and I, and when I say sister author, like, I talked to her yesterday on her way home from her class reunion.
Mm-hmm.
She's driving, so I'm talking to her. We on the phone and we passing ideas or whatever.
Yeah.
I found an event and call her. I'm like, girl, ooh, they got a children, because she's a children's book author. So I said, girl, they got this for children's books. You need to
Mm-hmm.
get on that. And then she'll, girl, do you want to come and speak to such and such? Because they need such and such and such. And I told them you would be perfect for that.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are friends on Facebook. And so everything we post, we support each other and we cheer each other on and we share our stuff. And so I have this connection where spaces that I may not necessarily be able to touch, she touches them for me and vice versa.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I was only able to get that because I chose Truvine as my publishing company. I don't think I would have gotten that at another publishing company.
Yeah.
We're a family at Truvine.
I love it. I love it. I want to ask this. Now that you've become an author, if somebody comes to you and says they want the publisher to make them successful, they want somebody else to make them successful.
Oh, Oh, baby, that ain't gonna happen. That ain't gonna happen because here's the thing. Nobody's more passionate about your product than you are, or
Right.
they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
And so if they're not as passionate as you, they're not going to be able to make you successful.
Right.
Only you can take care of you or take you to where you know you're supposed to be.
Hmm.
I mean, of course, God is going to do his part, but even the Bible says faith without works, you got to do something.
Right.
You can't just write the book and in a lot of cases they ain't even wrote the book. Chat
Yeah.
GPT or somebody did it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and now you want them to make you famous.
Right.
That is not how it works.
I was
You
watching an interview by a comedian. Now this guy has a following. He's in movies. Doing he's reached the level of celebrity, right? And
mm-hmm,
what he said he realized was he had paid this company, right, to expand his brand,
mm-hmm,
right? He
mm-hmm,
paid them all this money to make him famous.
mm-hmm,
So he stopped doing what he was doing
mm,
because he thought, all right, they're about to take it. Well, when he stopped doing what he was doing, they did nothing. And he said, what's going on? And they said, oh, we can only leverage what you do, right?
right. Yeah,
And that was like, if I could just get people to understand that,
yeah.
like nobody can do for you. They can only enhance what you're already doing. If you're not doing anything, if you're not taking advantage of social media, which is free,
Mm-hmm,
right? You know, when we were young, to be on TV was a big deal because not everybody could do it because you had to pay a lot of money. You had to pay
mm-hmm,
money to be on TV. Now we got social media where you can do it for free and reach millions of people,
mm-hmm,
right? If you're not willing to do that, if you're not willing to tell people that you have a book, even when you're in the midst of people and they're talking about books, and yet you keep your mouth shut and you don't say, I wrote a book. If you're not willing to do that, nobody can help you.
mm-hmm,
Nobody.
mm-hmm.
You don't have the infrastructure. If I was to take that on and I was to say, I'm going to get you in front of people to speak, and you don't even speak to people in your community about your book, how am I going to put you in front of a crowd of people you don't know
Right,
and expect you to speak effectively
right,
about your book, right?
right, right,
And
right.
that's what I say, like you represent and you are living the author life because like you said, you didn't become like a world global speaker overnight, but you went out and you went to these events and you read from your book, whether you were nervous or not. And now you're growing just like a muscle, getting stronger and stronger in your presentation. I think our first podcast, you were nervous about like what we're gonna talk about. What now it's just like we just get on here and you just start talking. You just start
Right,
going, right?
right,
It's
right.
the muscle that you have to build, and nobody can build that muscle for you.
No. And let me just say one more time, do it afraid and use whatever tools you have to use in order to do what you need to do.
Hmm.
It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Because one of my first speaking engagements, if you want to call it that, was an open mic. I went to an open mic to support my daughter, who was the featured artist. She sings, and so I went to support her. And they had a little sign up sheet or whatever. And she said, "Mom, you should sign up and read your book." And I was
Hmm.
like, "Girl, don't like that." She was like, "No, for real." And the lady who was in charge, she heard it. She was
Hmm.
like, "Yes, you should do that or whatever." So I put my name down and I signed it and I read my book and I was nervous or whatever. And I said what I need to say, whatever. Well, from that, they asked me to come back, and I think I'm supposed to be the featured artist in August
Wow.
now. I can't
Wow.
remember what day it is, if it's
Yeah.
August or September.
Hmm.
But so that happened as a result of that, right?
Hmm.
So um um after that, I kept going to the different open mics. So I
Hmm.
read my book, and then each time I'm thinking of like, what should I say before or after?
Hmm.
And what I was doing was I'm using the open mics as practice.
Right.
So sometimes I will get up there and I will talk first and then read. Sometimes I'll
Mhm.
read first and then talk
Yeah.
and and whatever. And then somebody asked me to come and speak.
Hmm.
So when somebody came and asked me to come and speak, I went and I spoke at the Hermitage, Tennessee chapter of the Disabled American Veterans, their monthly meeting.
Hmm.
And so when I went to go speak to them, I'm like, okay, now my what I say, it has to be targeted toward the military. I got to make the military piece connect to the book and what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
So I wrote out this whole thing, or I had ChatGPT write it out, you know how that goes. You know. And then you change out the words to make it
Yeah.
sound like yourself and all that. I went back and forth, it's 2 minutes and all that. And I was so nervous that I read it off the paper, my
Mhm.
speech off the paper. And when I got done, there were people in the audience. One woman was crying,
Wow.
and a man, an old white man, came to me and told me his story and cried standing there. And
Hmm.
I read it off the paper. So
Yeah.
you don't have to be perfect and using this kind of dialect and
Yeah.
all of this and pause for it. You don't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
You just have to show up and be genuine and tell your story
Yeah.
and do it afraid,
Yeah. One of the things I learned, and you're probably experiencing this too, whereas you're using open mics as practice, I started using um I started using pre-recorded videos and my podcast. Now, I didn't think it was practice at this time. I was just executing something that I was afraid to do, and so I
Mhm,
forced myself to do it.
mhm,
Well, what I start to learn and realize is the more you do it, you start building this portfolio of speaking points, right?
mhm,
And then the more you build that portfolio up, you realize after a while you don't even have to practice. This stuff just flows out, right?
mhm,
And
mhm,
you can answer any question because as you've been practicing and talking and refining and building your skills, right? Now, whenever you talk, it just flows out. It's like a muscle. The more you do it, afraid, the more comfortable you get with it, the more skilled you become. And until you get over your fear,
mhm.
what is the worst that could happen? Somebody doesn't buy your book or somebody doesn't like what you said. So what? So what? Like all these opportunities that you're getting right now is because you put it out there and somebody appreciated it. Somebody loved it. There's somebody out there for everybody. You
Mhm.
know, there's a book, and the name of the book is The Things Men Know About Women or something, right?
I had that book.
Yeah. And the whole book is blank pages. And people are buying this book.
I bought
Yeah.
it.
Right?
I bought it. I flipped through it, saw
Yeah.
the blank page and bought it. Yes.
Yes. And there's nothing in it.
Yep.
If that is not the prime example that
Yep.
there's somebody out there for everybody, I
Yep.
don't know what is. Go ahead. Yeah.
One more thing I want to say that we didn't talk about,
Yeah.
and that is, and I heard this before, but I was like, whatever. Um, Authors read. Okay.
Mhm.
You cannot expect to one, put out good product, or two, have other people read your book if you're not willing to read someone else's.
Mhm.
And a lot of what I've been able to navigate through or challenges I've been able to overcome is because of books that I've read, like The Last Conversation, for example.
Mhm.
In the last conversation, he says, when asking yourself the question, what am I gonna say? His answer is, what do you want them to know?
Mhm.
And so when I'm doing these open mics and different things, I'm asking myself, I'm looking at my audience and I'm like, okay, what do I want them to know? Like what I said at the open mic was different than what I said at the Disabled American Veterans meeting
Mhm.
because the audience was different and I wanted them to know something different, you
Mhm.
know. And so it's important that you read. I'm reading a book right now. I forget the name of it, but it is helping me to even now that I've written the book about my childhood and the way that I was managing my relationships, it's helping me to even understand myself more. So now when I go and speak, I can say these things that I just learned from this book that I'm reading right now
Yeah.
to share why I did the things that I did in my relationships or whatever. So the
Mhm.
point I'm trying to make is if you are an author, if you have written a book, make sure that you are reading other people's books because it is necessary. Authors read.
I really want to recap because you have dropped some serious nuggets. And two of these are the types of nuggets that I've gotten in my life that have changed my income by five figures, right?
Mhm.
There are times when people drop nuggets, and if you take advantage of it, it can change your income. So one, reach out. She talked about the reach out where she was able to load a list of contacts and send out customized direct messages to the receiver. That's so powerful, so important because when people are marketed to and it's a mass email or a mass text, they don't feel seen. And because they don't feel seen, they feel like, oh, I can ignore this and no one will know. Okay?
Mhm.
When a person feels seen, they appreciate it, one. And then another advantage, and this is not to be manipulative, but it's just the nature of people. Most people don't like to say no. So when you engage with someone directly, you have a higher probability that they're going to support you because they don't want to be rude,
Yep.
right? And then you do have some people who won't. And that's fine. They've drawn the line in the sand. They've let you know where they stand on that line. And that's great for you because these are people you don't need to put energy into. If you're an author, this is my first time hearing about it too. I've been doing this the hard way, having people do it the hard way. I've been texting directly, each person.
It's
But
$6.99 a month.
yeah,
Have to
definitely
try.
worth the investment. If you've gotten my book, 5K the right way, here it is. If you've gotten this book, then you know that I talk about going pro. Stop looking for the free app. Stop looking for the free service, right? It's time to go pro. It's time to invest in yourself and get the premium services that are going to allow you to effectively reach your market. So $6, $7 a month for an app that can make you, in Alotha's case, made her thousands of dollars.
Mhm.
It paid for itself, right?
Yep.
It paid for itself. Go pro, um, get the proper apps, and then the vendors wanted. I've never thought that there was a social media group for looking for vendors. I've
Yep.
never even. I didn't. Like I
It's
said,
called
now
vendors
now
needed.
Alonta's calling me and telling me what to do. So,
Yep.
but yeah, so this right here, that's money. That's opportunity. And I just think this has been great. Like my heart is bursting. I have notes from this is the purpose of this master class is to let the average person know you don't have to be a celebrity to get out here and make something of this book life. But
Mhm.
also understand you're not going to do it by chucking the responsibility to somebody else. You're not going to do it by sitting on your couch thinking that somebody else is going to do it. Somebody else is supposed to just magically realize that you have a book, and you're not going to do it by staying in your comfort zone.
Mhm.
Anything else you want to say, Janae?
So the group is two of them. One of them is vendors needed.
Okay.
Mid TN, MID for Middle Tennessee, TN. Just go in Facebook and search vendors in Tennessee and
Yeah.
you'll find them. It's so
Okay.
it's those two. And then another thing I do that I did not mention is I go on routinely go on Eventbrite and
Mhm.
search books, authors, stuff like that. And I will go to other people's, especially if they're free, I will go to other people's book signings and just see what they're doing.
Wow.
That's
No, like that.
how
Those are
I figured
simple
out how to
things.
do mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what you do, you're staying in the energy flow. You're staying in the energy of flow of what is the life of an author. And every time you expose yourself to that, you're learning new things. And it sometimes I think we think that when we learn something, it has to be some big revelation. Sometimes it's just like that one reach out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody told me once, um, how to get funding sources for my clients. I've been in business for about 16, 17 years. But that one little tip, like, made me $30,000, right? It
Oh
changed the
wow.
game, right?
Right.
The things that we learn, they don't have to be big aha moments. They just be in search of what little tidbit can I learn, like you're doing, going to other people's book signings to see what little tidbit can I learn from how they're doing it so that I
Mm-hmm.
can add it to my toolbox. It's
Mm-hmm.
life changing. I'm just so proud of what you're accomplishing, proud to be a part of it in this journey with you. I
So
believe
I
that,
have a question for
yeah,
you.
okay.
You said it doesn't have to be this big aha moment thing, right?
Hmm.
So my question is, has there ever been anybody where it was a big aha moment? Because my experience has been, and like I only been doing this since September, but my experience has been the whole process is nothing but planting seeds,
Yeah, yeah,
planting seeds, and then stuff happens, and like something. I'm sitting on a panel at a book festival 2 weeks from now. I don't know how they got my name. I didn't send them nothing. I
yeah,
I don't know what happened, how that
yeah,
happened.
yeah.
And all I can think is that somewhere along the line, one of them seeds
Hmm.
bloomed.
Yep,
You know what I'm saying?
yep.
Because there's nothing like nothing spectacular is happening.
Right, right.
But I keep planting seeds.
Yeah.
And then I'm doing stuff now. Y'all probably gonna think this is crazy, but I'm gonna just tell you that when I'm famous, just like she told you,
uh,
that I have sent emails to every woman, because if you don't know my book, my audience is young women who desire to be married. It's
mm,
for everybody, but that's my target audience. And so I have sent an email to every local nonprofit organization that services women or women in trouble or women with if trouble passed or whatever like that
hmm,
in an attempt to come to speak to those women.
yeah,
Nobody has responded yet,
hmm,
but I planted the seed.
yeah,
I sent a, what is it called? A series inquiry to Shonda Rhimes in
hmm,
the email. I went to a John P. Key concert and gave him the thing for my book
hmm,
and told him that he was in my book.
hmm.
And have been kicking myself ever since because I did not just ask him to buy the book. So
Or give it to him. Or
make sure
give
you
it to him.
ask for what you want. I didn't have
Yeah.
him at the time,
Oh,
right?
okay, okay,
I
okay,
didn't have
okay.
him at the
Yeah, yeah.
time. And I'm like, dang, now I gotta go to Charlotte. So, so I can go to his church and so I can
Look,
say, remember
send
me?
it to him. Send
Here's
it
the book,
to him.
sir. No, I
Yeah,
gotta make sure he get it. You
yeah,
know, You know, they got gatekeepers on the
Yeah,
other end
yeah,
of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
post office boxes and email
Yeah,
addresses, stuff like that. But those are the just random. Look,
yeah,
some fall on good ground, some
yeah.
fall on, you know.
To answer your question, or what I think you're saying is, yeah, there are no big. Well, there may be a big explosive moments, but we're so busy looking for those big explosive moments, we don't appreciate the small opportunities, right? And I say this all the time. Your opportunities are presenting themselves every day.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't know what that opportunity will lead to. And there's no guarantee that opportunity will come back around, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, you don't know where this speaking opportunity came from. It came from something you did. It came from an opportunity that you saw, which could have been, yeah, I'm sitting in this bar. Let me put my postcard on the table for the waitress.
In
That's an
Canada.
opportunity. Right, right. You know what I mean? And you take that opportunity because that's how I got it. When I did my book signing, somebody came because they found a card that I threw a bunch of postcards on the bar at a club, and I just threw the cards on the bar, and somebody picked it up and came to the book signing. There is no waste in God.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we got to understand.
Mm-hmm.
There is no waste. And here's the beautiful part. The more seeds you plant, right,
Mm-hmm.
the more harvest you're going to get. So people put in 1 hour, they do something one day, and then they don't do anything else for the rest of the month or for the rest of the year, and they're wondering, why don't I have a harvest? You planted one seed. You're not going to get a harvest from one seed. You do something every day, you do multiple things every day, then you get even more. But
Mm-hmm.
if you at least plant one seed a day,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, those those seeds are going to start to take root and harvest. And here's the thing, I'm experiencing it now. Alotha, I'm experiencing it now where it's like business is just flowing. It's like, where is this coming from? And it's because I've been planting seeds,
Mm-hmm.
right? And God is responsible for the increase. And when he does send the increase, you're gonna be like, wow, what happened? Like, how did we get here? It's because you've been consistently sowing seeds. You know, you and I go to the same church. Bishop Walker was talking yesterday about what you do with the little.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with your little? What are you doing with that postcard?
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing with your social media page?
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're not going to do something with that, why am I going to give you more? Here you have free opportunities to promote yourself, to promote the message I gave you. And
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing anything with that message I gave you. You want somebody else to do it for you. You know, I'm thinking about having a hot seat webinar where I can really let out my frustration, really have these tough conversations, because it's heartbreaking when you see like God give somebody something that can really help people, and they're afraid of what people will say,
Yes.
and so they don't do anything with it. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe we'll do that on the writers group. We'll have another. But yeah, yeah, thank you again. I think this is going to be very helpful. People need to watch the entire video. I think we probably had an hour, but people need to watch this entire video. It did exactly what I thought it would do. And
Mm-hmm.
so thanks again, Alotha, for being on
Oh, you
for
welcome.
this masterclass.
I like having these conversations. I
Yeah.
mean, like it's like now that the book is written, I think my biggest fear was the information that's in the book,
Hmm.
because I just didn't want people to know that,
Yeah.
right? But now that it's out there,
Hmm.
I feel free. I'm like, whatever.
Wow.
But like what
Yeah.
they gonna say is
Yeah.
I was in a class, a training class once, and they were talking about, well, for peer specialists, and we was talking about telling our story. And they were saying, what parts of your story do you have difficulty telling or whatever. And when they got to me, I went, well, my story is literally and open book. So I don't got nothing.
Right, right. Everything, look, it's all in the book. So I
And
ain't got no
everybody in the
secret.
class, they laughed and
Uh,
then they all bought the book.
that's awesome. That's
Yep.
awesome. I can always tell when you've done something because I start getting orders. Thank you again for being on, and you have a great day.
Thank you. Be amazing.